So I went to college and, I was in engineering. I was just building my dorm room. Like I had this metal suitcase I'd open up and solder in there and close it. I was in the electrical engineering department of University Urbana-Champaign, but after 1 year I quit because I realized debt was a scam and moved to St. Louis. And also I was like, why am I going to school? I'm already like selling things. Looking back though, I kind of like, they had some pretty sweet toys in the engineering department there at Urbana-Champaign. So sometimes I'm like, oh, that would have been cool. I went to St. Louis and I moved into like a punk anarchist not squat. We bought a building from the city for $800 and it was falling apart. And my friend had $800, he put it down. I put it in my name because he didn't want his name on the books for whatever reasons. And then
how did your parents feel about you moving into a punk house in St. Louis?
So we were all pretty paranoid of anything above ground. And also this is before 2000. We thought the world was going to end at 1999, December 31st. It didn't, but we were all pretty sure it was. So it was kind of like, let's just, do whatever we want because it's all over soon. We weren't punks, we were anarchists, but people understand what a punk house is, I guess. So it was pretty chill and people were it wasn't the rambunctious people. People came there to kind of chill after the rambunctious time. We were always fixing the house up and then we had this guitar pedal studio in the back, which was like this one room, which was actually kind of nice, but the rest of the house was not. People could like learn to build guitar pedals and hang out, usually sleep on the floor or the couches and make a little money. Like some would go towards the house and then some would go towards whoever built it. We had the heat and we had internet and we had, the water, electricity stayed on. So I met a lot of people at that house. Yeah, we had a lot. It was kind of the thing like a band might be on your floor when you wake up and you're like, cool, how are you guys? They're like, I'm friends with Matt. And you're like, who's Matt? And they're like, yeah, well, the punk house is still going on,
Yeah.
And the guitar pedals, I turned into modules now. The house is still there. I'm not involved in it anymore, but it's happening. I lived there for 5 years and I lived next door for 5 years doing the pedals in the back there. Oh, actually we moved to this old brewery. It was a former brewery. They had not survived Prohibition, but the buildings were still there. Before Prohibition, they were bigger than Anheuser-Busch. So St. Louis is famous for its beer. Anheuser-Busch is there, and because they have caves, and that was natural refrigeration. So this like rich family, the Lemp family, owned it, and underneath their brewery, they had put in like entertainment facilities for their wealthy guests, including stages, swimming pools. There was like handrails built into the caves, and we found an entrance to the caves. We could go down there and record all kinds of crazy music in these like giant like tunnels where they stored all the beer, I guess, or something. But the echoes were just like amazing because it's just stone for like, there's all kinds of weird like artifacts from this like pre-air conditioning era of how do you stay cool when you're wealthy. You just you just build into the caves underground. It was a fun experience being at the brewery. We were making guitar pedals, but the big deal was customization of guitar pedals, and we started getting pretty advanced. And if it was cool and we liked it and we thought we could do it, then we try it out. And if it ended up being really cool, we'd just like add that to our repertoire. It doesn't scale at all. So like, we hit bottlenecks. We did this like octaphonic setup, and we had this thing called the Bend Matrix, and it routed 4 inputs to 8 outputs, and it had a matrix, and you could route and you could control it with MIDI and do all kinds of weird shifting and like spinning sounds. So we set up 8 speakers and we could spin the sounds around and stuff like that. But there's like really interesting things that happened. There's been some scientific studies on, there's been some papers in the academia about this phenomenon. It's definitely something that should be explored more, but like you can make weird sounds appear out of nowhere depending on the phase relationships of the sounds, the exact distances. We weren't doing like laboratory grade, like measuring like wavelengths of, the distances of the speakers and things like that, or controlling the phases in any way. But messing around randomly long enough, you could get some really crazy sounding things, like when you turn your heads, sounds are like, all over the place, and it was a really fun thing to play with. So we take this Bend Matrix show. Basically, you have 4 musicians and you have 8 speakers, and everybody can play whatever they want, but then someone's like sweeping the sounds all around the speakers and stuff like that. Like you just kind of improvise until you find something cool, and it sounds cool when you have them like this, and these ones are moving at this speed, and these ones are moving at this speed, and then it's like, whoa, where did that new sound come from? It's not anything, we're just playing like tones. The Bend Matrix was like an AVR 8-bit based thing. This was like before Arduino. This is like early 2000s. So it was like a very kind of Wild West. Documentation's very sparse. There's like a forum, but people are wrong about stuff a lot. Just like kind of hacking together these projects, and it's pretty exciting. After about 10 years in St. Louis, I think I was approaching my 30s, and I think I was just kind of maybe done with like randos sleeping in my house every, just like a little more stability. I think I was kind of wanting something different.